Hello again. Thank you all for joining me today for another episode of Social Media Talks. Today I'll be accompanied by Mr. İlkay Yılmaz, who is the Head of Training at the Approved Training Organization, to discuss the Department of Professional Pilot Training. Please be reminded, if you have any questions, feel free to ask down below in the comment section and or on any of our social media platforms, as well as our email info@kyrenia.edu.tr. Bear with me for a moment while I get him connected. Hello, how are you today?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you for taking time out of your day to join us at Social Media Talk.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
And to get started, may we know a little bit more about you, your education background, where you're from, and how you became part of the University of Kyrenia family?
For sure. I was born in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and I spent the best part of my educational years in the United Kingdom, from primary school up until the university. I'm an aeronautical engineer and a City University London graduate with a master's in engineering. And shortly after I finished my education in England, I came back to my homeland, Cyprus, and I was lucky enough to join the University of Kyrenia family in 2014. And I've been lecturing ever since and managing as the Approved Training Organization Head of Training since 2017.
Excellent. We are happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And about the Department of Professional Pilot Training, what are some opportunities and advantages to this faculty?
At this point, I'd like to discuss the structure of the pilot training program. So the Approved Training Organization is a Turkish DGCA, so the Director General of Civil Aviation Authority in Turkey, authorized organization responsible for delivering the training required to students for them to obtain their licenses, their flying licenses, such as the PPL, ATPL, and all the other modules that go along with this, which we will discuss. And it's these licenses that give the students the privilege to fly. So on behalf of the Turkish DGCA, we are authorized to provide this training at the University of Kyrenia ATO. And this ground instruction or training delivered by the ATO is done within the 4 years of the university undergraduate program and adds up to 2.5 years of the 4 years. And in addition to the normal semesters, there's 3 summer terms in which the flying is also done. And the remaining portion of the 4 years, so if we exclude the 2.5 years, the remaining portion of the program is delivered by the Faculty of Aviation and Space Sciences. And this hopefully gives the students the opportunity to do some research and receive an undergraduate degree in addition to their licenses.
And so what job opportunities do the students that study this department have once they graduate?
Yeah, primarily once our students successfully complete their ATPL training, they will have the opportunity to apply to airlines to operate as first officers or co-pilots, basically the second pilot in command on an aircraft flying commercially. This is the intention of most of our students, and our graduates have moved on to work for major airlines in Turkey. Another opportunity they may have, and which some of our students have chosen, is to become flight instructors. So they become educators themselves. They become instructors in either on the ground or they can be flying. Of course, they will need further training by their organization, which they apply to further their training and receive further licenses, but they can also become instructors. Of course, at this point, students listening to us, they may not think too far ahead, but there are actually a lot of opportunities once they receive experience flying commercially where they may actually not try, or if they so desire, and when needed, they can provide support to the management team of airlines or even other organizations in the industry. This can be the education sector. They can join safety management teams. They can join ground simulation training teams, and many others which I haven't mentioned right now. So there's a wide scope of or wide range of opportunities for students out there.
And as you mentioned earlier, flight training is needed for this department. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What license do the students obtain once they graduate, and so forth?
For sure. So during the summer term of their second year, they will go to receive their flying training for the private pilot license. This is for the single engine piston category of aircraft, which is 45 hours of training. And this is the first step. After which, during the summer of the third year, I should say, they need to accumulate their hours in their logbook. And this is called the pilot in command flights. So currently, the averages are doing around 88 hours of pilot in command. So they use the PPL license, which they received a year earlier, and they are in command of a single engine piston aircraft, and they accumulate some hours. After which, in their fourth year, they will be doing their night rating, which gives them the authority to fly in the night, and after which they will do their commercial pilot license, multi-engine rating, and also the instrument rating. So in order to operate the instrument and fly with the instruments, they need to obtain their instrument rating, because for example, the PPL, it's done visually. It's the whole main point, you fly visually. But then once you add to your ratings and you get your multi-engine and you get your CPLs, then you'll eventually want to fly with your instruments as well. So these will accumulate. These are, by the way, I'm explaining in the modular sense. Once you get these, you'd eventually have a frozen ATPL, if you like, which is the term used when you have all these, you have your theory and you have all these licenses under your name. You can apply to airlines, and based on what they need, on the type of aircraft which they operate, you will have to do a further type rating. So another 6 weeks, typically, you will have a type rating, so you can have you can specialize on that particular aircraft which you are assigned to. So that's the only bit missing, but this is typical. You have a frozen ATPL, which then puts you in a place to kickstart your career.
Excellent. And are there any facilities here that are specialized for the professional pilot training department?
Yeah, we have a UK CAA, or so the UK Civil Aviation Authority, and the Turkish DGCA approved English language proficiency exam center. So we can provide our students with guidance as to their preparation and also the opportunity to sit these English exams. And the whole main point of this is that pilots, and especially obviously commercial pilots, they need to certify their level of English, their use of English as well. And basically we have the authorization from the UK Civil Aviation Authority and the Turkish DGCA to provide these exams, which are rated internationally, and then the students can receive their English level certificates. In addition to this, we have a highly regarded ALSIM ALX67 FNPT2 flight simulator. And this provides us the platform and the opportunity for students to log instrument hours, flying hours in these simulators. And again, these are all certified and can be used in order for them to log their hours. And the simulator is capable both in terms of a single engine or a multi-engine.
And so you've mentioned a few advantages for this department, but in your opinion, to our prospective students, why should they choose the Department of Professional Pilot Training here at the University of Kyrenia?
Our students' feedback and the fact that our past students have managed to find themselves an opportunity to start their careers at major airlines, I think speaks volumes of the guidance we can provide at the University of Kyrenia. And also the University of Kyrenia in general has a very wide vision in providing the best training for students. And similarly, the approved training organization has made a very speedy progress since its introduction in 2015. So some may view this as not so long ago, but I think in a short space of time, we have added to our facilities and have now graduates working in the industry. We have dedicated professionals for both ground training and practical flying training, which provides students with a smooth transition from ground instruction to flying in the summer terms. And I think this is important because students sometimes have to adapt in a certain manner because they switch from theory to practice. And I think we can do this in the best manner. So therefore, the students have the opportunity to optimize their learnings and just concentrate on their responsibilities. Also, I think it's important to note that we have training aircraft, which is solely dedicated for the training of our students. And this also adds to the productivity of our education and our instruction. In addition to this, our team works, I think, tirelessly to make sure that students have their answers or questions answered too.
And when we look at the near and distant future of this department, what kind of developments can we expect? Like, do we have any plans?
I think the University of Kyrenia ATR will continue to add to its growing experience and reputation since its introduction. The facilities mentioned before were put into effect over a short amount of years, and I'm sure will continue to expand to provide more and more students with the opportunities to fulfill their dreams. As with the other industries, I think the aviation industry shows advancements which are followed by our management team. I think this is quite important because consequently we can give the students these very current changes in the regulations or what they are expected to know and certain things which they have to put into place. I think a good example of this is the very unfortunate situation in terms of the pandemic. We've provided a very swift transition from having lectures in the classroom to online or distance learning. Now, this may sound very common because I'm sure many organizations have done this, but we are doing this in line with many regulations and the added regulations of the Turkish DGCA, the SHGM. So there's very delicate issues, and we have been able to further the students' training, and they basically haven't lost any time, and they've been able to further their training and ready. They're actually ready now for their what we've been talking about of their flying training in the summer term. They're actually ready for that right now. We're almost ready, I should say.
Which I think is very important, and thank you all to the department for doing this for our students. In saying that, you've got a few fans in the viewers list that are watching. Lilith 8118 said number one İlkay Hoca. So you've got a few fans watching us today. For our last question, what should prospective students prepare themselves for during their studies in this field? What kind of things can they expect when studying?
They'll find themselves in a very intense training program, and perseverance in particular will be key. Like I mentioned, the summer terms will be composed of flying training, and these in itself are very demanding in addition to the 120 hours of PPL training and 650 hours of theory for the ATPL training. So their summer terms will be occupied by these. In addition, they will have, in addition to the ATO exams, and the university exams, they will have to sit DGCA exams. And also we must remember that they also have flying skills tests in order for their licenses to be issued. So they have added responsibilities. They can also expect, of course, an English proficiency exam. So they need to have a sound level of English, along with obviously mathematics and science background, which will give them a good foundation to advance with their studies. Of course, the maths and science, it's not a compulsory matter for them to join, but I think if they're getting ready, then they should pay attention to these subjects. They should expect a very rewarding program. They will work hard, but of course, at the end, with most things which come at the consequence of hard work, they will be, I think they'll be rewarded in a very, very positive manner. And they should just expect to enjoy the challenge.
Sorry, just one moment, Mr. Yılmaz. Could you just repeat that last sentence for me? The internet was just cracking a bit and we couldn't actually hear you. Just the last sentence.
For sure. I mentioned the English and the maths and science background providing a good foundation for the students. And I just added on by saying that it's just going to be a very rewarding program for the students. As with any other program which is very challenging, at the end of the road where you find something challenging, I think it's going to be very rewarding. And I think a good student, any student, hopefully potential students listening to me now as well, they should consider developing themselves in other areas in addition to the training that we provide, because airlines and employees will no doubt look for other things rather than their theory and their flying. So, for example, decision making when having safety as the #1 priority. Of course, these are embedded into the students' education, but they should always try to further their learnings by developing themselves. Also being a team player, developing a commercial sense to represent and make decisions in benefit of the company that which they will try to serve in the future, their leadership skills and many more, which we try to explain during their training at the University of Kyrenia. So these are the things that they should start to consider from now, because I think every second, every minute that they have in order to further their education, it will give fruits, it will bear fruits in the future.
Thank you very much for that. And to end this broadcast, do you have any anecdotes from your student years that you would like to share with us?
I can just add that in a sense it was very similar to what I've just mentioned now, in the sense that we talk about, as with any other program of course, I'm not separating pilot training to any other program because every field is very demanding, but what was reflected upon me during my educational years was that to expect the best and to try to fulfill my potential. And this is only done if one works hard and they don't look back. So I think once the students have made their decision to join, I would just advise them to enjoy the journey, to work as hard as they can, because what I've just said is that every little will add up, will accumulate, and when they go for an interview or where they in the future, when they have a certain topic which is asked them, then they will just realize that it's all adds up. In the heat of and in the demanding situation of the 4 years that they will study, they will maybe not be able to realize this. But my general advice, if you like, to change your question a bit, is just to enjoy it, to give their maximum, and be sure that at the end they will have a successful and happy career, hopefully. And also I take the opportunity to wish all our students and future potential students the very best, and I look forward to meeting them in the future.
Thank you very much. And so that's all we do have time for today, but I do hope that we can do this again soon.
Of
discuss
course.
a little bit more about this department. And yes, thank you again. Hope you have a lovely evening.
No problem. It was a pleasure, and have a good evening as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so thank you all for joining me today. Please join me on Thursday at 6 p.m. EEST on our Facebook platform, where I'll be accompanied by Associate Professor Yönay Eve to discuss the Department of Software Engineering. Until then, take care, stay safe, and goodbye.